committees have been working and dealing with a lot of the issues with the city of, well, actually not just the city. A lot of people don't realize that the NAACP, we actually cover from Galt to the Nevada line. So we cover a lot of territory. And so at this time, before I ask for approval of the agenda, I am going to ask Lorraine to come in and to give the House rules of how this meeting is going to go virtually with the votes and that sort of thing.
Good morning, everyone.
So,
I just want to remind.
Lorraine, can you explain the raising of?
Yes. Can you everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. I just wanted to let everyone know, please remind yourself to go on mute. And if you have any questions, please direct them to the chat box, as Valerie will be managing the chat box. And also, I will be putting up a poll for approval of minutes and another action item that we're going to be voting on today. You can please submit your answers by the poll. If you are logged into Zoom, your name will be recorded so that we know who it is that is voting. So again, I'll be putting up the poll. Please use the poll on your screen to select your answers to submit your vote. Thank you. Hello? Oh, I think Penny's.
Hello? Okay. So a real quick update. I've been in contact with both Craig Powell and the mayor, who both would like to speak today. And I am going to allow a couple of minutes for each, which is something we hadn't planned, but what I have been hearing from a lot of the members, they still want to hear the pros and cons of strong mayor. So we will allow that, but I will be asking Lorraine to bring them both on around 10:35. So they're not in the chat right now, or they're not in chat. They're not in the Zoom right now, but they are coming on around 10:35. With that being said, I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. I know it was up earlier. And so can I have someone help me entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. LaMills Garrett.
Madam President,
It's been moved by LaMills.
approved as read.
It's been moved by LaMills Garrett, and state your
I'll second
name.
it.
Who's the second? State your name, please.
Ardell.
Okay, Ardell Lamone, second. And so we're going to use the electronic hands for those of you who are on Zoom. When I say all in favor, say aye. And those who are on the phones, you can verbally just say aye and unmute yourself. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
And oppose? Abstentions? So moved. At this time, we're going to have the reading and the approval of the minutes by our secretary.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sacramento NAACP, good morning. This is your Vice Secretary Stacy. Good morning. The minutes to read are Sacramento NAACP Town Hall, July 11, 2020, the Black Journalist Town Hall. We started on time at 10 a.m. Our guest journalist consisted of Courtney Dempsey, CW31, who is going on her 25th year, Larry Lee, Sac Observer newspaper, being in business going on 57 years, Sonea Ray, Fox 40, Brandy Cummins, NBC KCRA 3, Valena Jones, CBS 13, Chris Thomas, ABC 10, speaking on social justice and systemic racism through the lens of Black journalists that are impacting the African American community, as well as the challenges they face in their profession as Black journalists. This town hall is also being streamed through Betty Williams' Facebook Live page. One of the topics of conversations was the George Floyd protests and movement, which opened the opportunity in the newsroom to talk about racism as a Black man or Black woman. It also opened the door to expose the feelings of the journalists, enabling them to share their story and have a candid conversation for the first time in their career for some. Larry talked about the COVID impact and challenges, along with being actively engaged with government resources being extended to our communities through the county, and how the uprising has helped to put in perspective to show the void of our voice in the community and for healing. He also talked about the attacks on journalists and the media during these trying times. It was discussed who makes the decision of which stories are covered, which was discussed that it is important to have a diverse newsroom to weigh in on these conversations, which happens in the editorial meetings. Social media impact on journalism, not getting paid monetarily, but are receiving benefits from making contacts and new ideas for stories. They are feeling more connected because of social media. You have an opportunity to engage now than ever before, which will get you a response from them. They are feeling more connected now because of social media, which will get the response that you are looking for. It was enlightening to hear from the journalists on their perspective of the challenges within their profession as a Black professional, as they pitch stories that are meaningful to them, to see which ones will be chosen to cover. They are not censored, but must be neutral in the covering of stories, but they want to be empowering and educational and to connect with their audience and tell both sides of the story. Must be responsible, lack of diversity in the newsrooms, need diversity in the decision-making process. What advice was asked would they give in becoming a journalist? Responses consist of information is the equalizing and governing power. Outside of that power is no protection. Said not glamorous as it looks, they are needed. Those who are sincere and willing to make the sacrifice and pursue. Engage with your local journalists because you have access to them like no other time. This role is critical to our democracy. The diversity of the work is exceptional, not for the faint of heart. Your voice matters, and it is powerful to have a different perspective, especially when you are the only one in the room being a Black journalist. Being the voice for those who otherwise wouldn't be heard, being part of the delivery system. You can't be scared, connect with those that look like you, and share the commonality. This town hall is being recorded and will be accessible on our YouTube channel, where you can review all recorded videos at NAACP Secretary. To become a member or to donate, please visit our website at www.sacnaacp.com or call or text us at 916-856-0155. Our email address is secnaacp1060@gmail.com. Announcements. Sacramento NAACP Education Committee meeting will be Tuesday, July 14, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom. For further information, please contact Selena Pryor at 916-831-0428. We'll be discussing our Black students, the economic injustice, and COVID. The meeting was adjourned at 11:10 a.m.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as read.
So moved. LaMills
Thank
Garrett.
you. Thank you, LaMills, for moving the motion. I need a second.
Second, Shirley Brown.
Second it,
Shirley
Ardell
Brown.
Harrison.
Shirley Brown, it's who I heard first, as the second. All in favor, say aye by electronic hands, or if you're on the phone, say aye.
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 And those who oppose, and abstentions, so moved. So the minutes has been approved as read. Treasurer, is that Shirley?
The minutes was read during our executive meeting and everything was approved from that. So unless you just want me to reread it.
So, so the treasurer's report was submitted to the executive committee
Yes.
Shirley, what are you doing? You look like you're looking into the camera. Anyway, the treasurer's report was approved by the executive committee, and anyone who would like to see, that's a member, who would like to see the treasurer's report can contact Shirley or Daphne Gauthier, our treasurer, to review the treasurer's report. Thank you, Shirley. At this time, I believe we are going into our success story. So normally, around this time, I give the president's report and a summary of a lot of the reports that our committees have been doing. However, I thought it would be a great idea for us to hear from one of our members that we had helped recently, and for them to tell the story themselves of what we've done as the Sacramento branch. And so at this time, one of our lifetime members, I would like to present to you Dr. Dana Berry to tell his story of his recent relationship with the Greater Sacramento NAACP. Dr. Berry, are you available?
I am available. How are you, Madam President?
I am good. I am good. Good to see you. Would you like to share?
I would love to share how blessed I am today. You know, I was extremely fortunate to have an opportunity to work with the NAACP to get my freedom, because I had some serious trouble 2 years ago where I was parked at a light getting ready to make a right turn, and a white boy drove up beside me in a motorcycle, hit my mirror. All I did was turn to my left, roll my window down, and he punched me in the face. After punching me in the face, he knocked me a little unconscious, and I didn't know where the heck I was. I went forward maybe 10, 15 feet in my car from a stop position. Police arrived, and they automatically thought that I had tried to kill this boy. So they gave me 3 felony charges for getting hit in the face. Did anyone hear that? 3 felony charges for being hit in the face by a white boy. So the last 2 years, I have suffered in silence and didn't really want to share my story with anyone, as I paid thousands and thousands of dollars to attorneys and tried to get out of this situation. Finally, I called on Madam President and the Vice President, Mr. Lamone, and they called me directly and got the information they needed from me. They listened in on my deposition of the one key eyewitness to the whole scene who cleared up everything for them. And I was so thankful they took time out of their day to rescue me. I'm a local dentist, and I'd never been in trouble before for any felonies or anything. And so they stepped in, went directly to the DA and demanded that she drop all charges. And she said that she wouldn't at first. And Madam President told us, you got to do this to keep my record straight. So she immediately looked at all the information, immediately looked at the deposition given by the only eyewitness to the assault and battery. And the only eyewitness to the assault and battery clearly stated I was completely stopped when I was hit in the face. And so I couldn't have been driving 75 miles per hour like they accused me of driving. Even the boy who hit me in the face said I was completely stopped. So long story short, they decided to drop all charges against me. And I got a huge burden off my back because of, I'm a lifetime member of the Sacramento NAACP, but I got a lot of pressure off my back. And now we need to go further and see if we can let the truth be heard and seen, and see if we can get this criminal off the street. So hopefully he doesn't do this to somebody else. And I'm so thankful, Madam President and Mr. Lamone, you guys have gone out of your way, above and beyond anything anyone could ever ask, to show me a commitment that the NAACP has been doing for the past 100 years or so, right? So I'm really, really thankful. I would have lost my license. and probably would have been in jail had you not stepped in, even though I was innocent. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful for what you guys did for me. If there's anything I can do, and hopefully I can get on the board soon to help the NAACP, I will be there for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Berry. And the executive committee talks about this all the time, having individuals share their story. When we go into our meetings and we go through the reports of everything that we've done for the month, we're always saying, God, the community has no idea all the things that we do and all the success stories that we have, and we need to make sure that our memberships that benefit from the NAACP, and you know, there's some people that still says that NAACP is not relevant, and so this is one of many examples to show that we are, in addition to the fact that we handled over 3,300 cases in 2019, all at a volunteer basis. So thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate it. We're glad that it happened. And you almost helped me get a new job, because the DA did offer me a job after we resolved that case. So that was all good. So thank you, Dr. Berry. At this time, I'm just going to go over a little bit with the president's report that I had submitted to the executive committee. A couple of things that I shared with the executive committee that wasn't on my president's report. And I don't know if Lorraine, you can just pull that up so that they can scan it or see it as I talk through. But one of the things that wasn't on the president's report was the fact that I had to deal with a local restaurant owner who was upset that they were given a list to buy produce and from local farmers, and no one on the list was African American descent. And most of us know that we do have an African American farmer, R. Kelly's Farms, that's been around for several decades. And the fact that they weren't on the list was a tragedy, actually. So all week I was working on that particular case, and we were able to get Kelly's Farm on the list, and so that they will now be part of the production with this program called Great Plates. Great Plates is a program that came into play with COVID for seniors. So if seniors qualify under the criteria of the city of Sacramento, they can get meals from local restaurants, and they can order. This is for free, and they could have someone pick them up and bring it to their homes for free. And so I don't think a lot of our African-American seniors know about this program. And so I would suggest that they call the 311 number and ask about the senior program or Great Plates. The other piece of this is that we've been working with others to make sure that African-American restaurants are part of the Great Plates program as well. And so that's been a challenge all by itself and a whole nother story. But we wanted to make sure that you knew about that. In addition, I've also been part of a coalition of African Americans that meet every Monday with the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors regarding COVID and its relationship to the African American when it comes to education, housing, criminal justice, homelessness. And so a number of the leaders have been pressing the county for where their funds are going from the CARES program. So for those of you who don't know, CARES program is a program that was created through COVID to help cities around the world. So on a federal level, on the federal and state level, the county has received $250 million, billion with a B. And we have not seen any of those dollars distributed into our community. That's one. Two, the CARES program also, $89 million of that has gone to the city of Sacramento. And there has been programs started for small businesses, the Great Plates and other programs with the city. And one of the things that we do, we are always at the city or the city council fighting for it, in my words, kittles and bits. $89 million is a large sum for most, but when you're across the street and they have $250 million doing the same thing. Why aren't we at the county beating our drums saying, where's that money going? And especially with African Americans more susceptible to the COVID virus. And so we've been pushing that fact. And congratulations to Larry Lee, who leaked the story last night, that they actually got a hold of documentation proving that 200 million, close to 200 million of that money, 172 million to be exact, of that money was spent on other items other than COVID. And so there is a full investigation happening behind that. We were pushing it collectively, but I brought it to the executive committee on Thursday night, and now to hear that the story has broke last night, that it appears that it was inappropriate spending, $250 million. That's something that we need to watch. And so the other piece is census. If you haven't heard, the president has actually ended census 30 days early. The self-response should have ended October 31. However, the president asked for it to end September 30th. Congress is moving to override what the president just recently did by executive order to see if that's even constitutional. But right now we are trying to make sure that everyone is counted. That's where we get our funding from. That's if we're not there, if we don't count, we don't exist. If we don't exist, we don't get the funding that we need. So we're asking everyone to watch this carefully. Right now, the new end date is September 30th, and I just needed everyone to be aware of that. Also, at a certain point when we get to some of the actual voting, those of you who are on the phone, the secretary may call you or text you to verify your name before you do an actual vote to make sure that you are a member of the NAACP, and they actually have the membership list ready and available right now. And if you vote and you're not a member, your vote would be spoiled and will be not part of it. So I wanted to let you all be aware of that. And I also just wanted to highlight if Tia Barnes, who's over our AXO program and who submitted her report on all the wonderful things that the youth group is doing and their commitment to National has moved the national convention to a virtual site. And so that will be September 13th through the 26th. And we have, I believe, 6 participants that will be competing on a national level. Our own youth will be competing in our AXO program. We also had a report from WIN and a number of things that they're doing in relationships to voting, getting out the vote, educating people on voting, and bringing together some other small business things when it comes to women. Health, they will be doing a number of things as well. They have an upcoming, I believe August or September, I can't remember, Valerie, or you guys let me know if I'm incorrect about that. Actually, like a town hall meeting on health issues. We have Blue Shield, who has committed to sponsoring us in a number of issues when it comes to health. We're going to have a drive-in event September 6th. It's going to be replacing our R&B festival. And so September 6th, we're going to be at the drive-in. Right now, the movie that we're featuring until further notice is Thurgood Marshall. And so we're also looking at having some bands there as well. We're going to be featuring some of our caterers and restaurants that will be serving foods in the car that's been challenged by the COVID. And I believe are those the highlights of the people who turned in their reports. Health, AXO, WIN, and veterans. Our veterans chair, Malachi Smith, who is always active. If you want to know anything when it comes to veterans and their activities, please let us know. Email us at the SECNAACP1060@gmail. If you want to be part of any of the committees, please let us know. There's more than enough work, and everybody works for free. So at this time, are there any questions regarding the highlights of the president's reports and other committee reports, or anything that I may have missed from the other committees? This is your time to speak.
I'm Miss Betty Tijuana.
Sure.
Did you want to touch on the kids with the summer job with the CARES money?
Tijuana, go ahead and touch on that. Thank you for that.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. The Sacramento NAACP applied for a grant under SAC Youth Works and the city of Sacramento to hire 5 youth who are at home affected by COVID because of no summer jobs. And they will work on a learning-based project and get paid for it through this grant. And so on August 17th, the students will be presenting via webinar a session called The Intersection of Black, LGBTQ, and Disability, a youth perspective on how we can build a more inclusive environment. So if you're interested in that, you can email our branch, and the secretary or the office manager can email you the flyer. But that's August 17th, and it will be fully staffed by our youth, no adults.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are there any other questions regarding the reports that have been presented? If not, I can't see the agenda. I think the next piece is unfinished business. Is that correct? And the unfinished business may be something I've already touched on. And can you hear me?
I can hear you, Betty. We are, yes,
Okay.
we are going into unfinished business next. And then next.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Can't hear you.
Okay, just making sure. You know how my computer just tends to die. So at this time, we're going to get ready for an action item on Strong Mayor, whether the Sacramento NAACP would be voting up or down the Strong Mayor. What I can say that we, as the executive committee, we're bringing forth a no vote on Strong Mayor. However, the rules of the NAACP says we have to bring it to our membership to either validate or not, to agree or not. And so with that being said, we are going to bring forth some speakers, and I think the mayor just texted me, Lorraine, so can you send him the link? And I don't know if Craig Pyle has been sent the link, if you can go ahead and send them the link as well.
You wanted me to send it to which email? Can you just text me, Betty?
Okay. Do we know what? Okay, I'm going to text you and the mayor so you'll know. So while I'm doing that, I would like at this point, our political action chair to talk about the recommendations that we made to the mayor regarding Strong Mayor. So at this time, LaMills, I'm going to ask you to give the list of recommendations and where we are with that.
Thank you, Betty. My name is LaMills Garrett, Political Action Chair for the Sacramento NAACP. And just over a week and a half ago, we met with Mayor Steinberg to listen to the items, his explanation of the items within the Strong Mayor proposal, or the Accountability and Equity Act. And from that, there were some recommendations that we made in that meeting and post that meeting for the mayor to consider. Those were, and I want to make sure I have them right, I think I have them listed here, that the mayor remain a part of the council, i.e. he is expected to adhere to the Brown Act. Prior versions, or at least the initial version, had him as essentially an executive officer above the city council without the expectation of meeting with constituents or being in the meetings on the same cycles as city council. So that was one recommendation that we pushed forward. The second was regarding veto powers that were included there. There was concern around those veto powers in terms of, as it relates to general voting powers of the city council members, and how that can impact constituents from the different parts of the city, and especially so on the budget that's done by the city. So we wanted to make sure that those things were done, and we shared that with the mayor. Then there was enforcement of the provisions of the city's ethics code that we provided to the mayor, in terms of making sure that those things were actually enforced, that the ethics code was in place. But so many of the things as it relates to equity and accountability can easily be done if the Ethics Commission, if the recommendations of the Ethics Commission were actually adopted and actions were taken on those. The provisions as it related to equity, specifically some aligned with Measure U and otherwise, that was actually developed by members of largely in the African American community. There was an ask that those things be separated out of the proposal as a goodwill gesture on that. I don't know if goodwill gesture is the right word, but as a point of understanding that those are separate things. The proposals associated with equity and the components of accountable or strong mayor. Other things, and so I think that's our full list, and not recounting everything that I just went through. And other things that were simply brought up were around concerns around the timing of the proposal, accountability as it relates to the city manager and department heads, and just a feeling of trust in general. And so those were the things communicated and or asked, and I will reiterate that I'm stating these in a neutral context to make sure that everyone understands these were the things that were communicated, without voicing whether it be my personal or even answering for the mayor in terms of how they responded to these things. I'll leave that to the mayor to identify those things in which they chose to change, completely addressed, or to maintain in place for the various reasons that he had. So that's it on that, Betty.
Thank you. At this time, is Craig Powell on Zoom? Have we got him on yet? And is the, okay, and is the mayor on Zoom?
They're coming.
They're coming, okay. So what, as they are coming, they will each have 5 minutes to do pro and con as far as strong mayor. And then after that, I'm going to put the action item out there for the purposes. Oh, good morning. Thank you, Mayor. Then I'm going to put the discussion out there for a vote. And so I see Mayor Steinberg. Do we have Craig Powell? Do we have him yet, Lorraine, or is he coming on?
We don't have him yet. He was sent the information.
Okay, so we'll go with what we have. If we don't have a pro and con, we'll go with what we have. We have Mayor Steinberg who made it, and I don't want to delay it because I know everything is time sensitive. And so at this point, what I can tell you, Mayor, that we went into the recommendations of what we had sent you And the things, for the most part, we left it up to you to explain what you agreed to and what you didn't, and why Strong Mayor is important to the city of Sacramento.
Thank you.
So you are on. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Betty, and thank you to the members of the board again for an opportunity. I want to begin this time, I guess, with some breaking news, and I want to put this under the category of trust, the question of trust, which has been raised a couple of times in our conversations. The Sacramento Observer reported last night that the county has now released a report detailing its $189 million worth of CARES relief, the federal stimulus relief that has aided cities and counties. Of course, the city received $89 million. The Observer reported that the vast majority of the money that the county has spent, with its nearly twice as much money as the city received, has been to reimburse the sheriff and the probation department for their, quote, extra work that they had to do during the coronavirus. In contrast, the city of Sacramento, under my leadership, and it was my leadership because I put out the very strong direction and letter to my colleagues and to the city management saying that I want our money spent on the community. When you look at the $89 million of CARES Relief Act funding, at least 80 million of the 89 is going to go directly into the community under 4 key categories. Assistance for small business, of which 75% has to be for disadvantaged businesses. Housing and homelessness, that report in terms of its specificity is going forward on the 25th of August. Youth and workforce development, we put forward close to $20 million to support workforce development, especially in our neighborhoods. And finally, the creative economy and tourism, again, with a focus on diversity. And so I think the contrast is really important. And it does put into some perspective, while I have said to you on several occasions that I take the criticism that has come at me to heart and very, very seriously, and am always digging deeper to figure out how I can elevate my own leadership here on your behalf and on behalf of their communities. The fact of the matter is that I have begun as mayor of this city an inclusive economic development agenda that is meaningful and that is backed up by real resources. And so why is this important, this ballot measure? Not only does it do what I don't think any other city in the country has done, and that is actually put equity, racial equity, into the city charter, into our Constitution. Not only do we put $40 million a year, the measure you promised, into the charter of the city of Sacramento, our Constitution, but I strongly believe that if you have an accountable mayor who is elected by the people to pursue an agenda, you have a much better chance of actually seeing that agenda through if you can hold the person you elected accountable, as opposed to the diffusion of power that exists within our city that frankly you are rightfully frustrated about, because things don't get done as quickly. They don't get done with as much purpose. You know, it's interesting when you look at who's lining up in opposition to this thus far. You saw that the Sacramento firefighters came out very strongly against this. And why did they come out strongly against it? They came out strongly because I put $40 million into the charter to say that's the minimum amount. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback here. Because that is the minimum amount that needs to be spent on our neighborhoods. And they object to that. And that's really what's at issue here. And so in terms of what you requested of me in your letters and in our 2 forums, aside from not separating this into 2 measures, which I think I explained why I did not do that, everything else I took, and I went through it before, and I know I sent to Betty, and now it's public, of course, the actual charter amendment. And it includes all of the things that you were concerned about, making sure that the city council continues to make its appointments without mayoral override or veto, making sure that the mayor is subject to the Brown Act. All of the things that you asked for, I believe that I followed through on. And so I would ask for your support because I believe we have a much better chance to achieve the agenda to make inclusive economic development a core part of what a city does, as opposed to just public safety, and then where there is some loose change left over, we invest in other things. That's not the way it should be. And our system currently does not allow us to move as assertively in the direction that you and others are rightfully demanding. I appreciate the time again. Hello?
Hi, we're just trying to get Betty back. One moment, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. You never know if the technology is actually working here.
Betty, unmute yourself. Emil, go ahead until Betty comes back on.
Yeah. So, Mayor, thank you very much for sharing that. This is Lemills Garrett.
Hi, Lemills.
Hello. Thank you very much for sharing that. At this time, it appears that we don't have someone who's here to speak on the reasons against. And so with that,
I'll do it.
Okay.
This is Lauren Hammond.
Okay. So Ms. Hammond, we will provide you a 5-minute time frame as well to explain the concerns from a community point of view for our membership with regards to the current ballot measure that's been voted on for mayor accountability.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I've moved to my larger speakers. I wasn't prepared to do this. I was just here to listen. But if we can't find my old classmate, Craig, then I guess I will take up the cause. And let me start by saying what you heard the council members say over the last 2 weeks. This is not personal, and this is not about existing elected officials or appointed officials. So let me make that clear to my dear former colleague, Mayor Steinberg. Now, as I've said in 2 different letters, I do not agree that strong mayor will make the city or the mayor more accountable, because in those municipalities that have strong mayor, they have exactly the same issues we have, and they struggle to address them as well. So the first thing I'd cite is San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles. Yes, those mayors have the ability to do by executive action what a council can do by an ordinance if it's an emergency, and it can be done. When you listen to the complaints from those folks that oppose strong mayor, what you hear them, or support strong mayor, what you hear them say is the city manager is an unelected person. What I've said is the new unelected person becomes the mayor's chief of staff, who will be a deputy mayor. Not talking about our current mayor, who tends to be more hands-on, as he has said to me in the past. What happens after that? So, in the cities that I talked about, the neighborhoods have lost out. In San Francisco, they are also their board of supervisors for the county, so they aren't the best to compare. But with the other cities, personally, being a child of Los Angeles, I can tell you that the neighborhoods changed after they went to the strong mayor, because the money wasn't going to the neighborhoods. I appreciate the fact that in this proposal that the council has passed with the mayor's changes over the last week, it guarantees a certain amount of money in the charter. There's always an emergency. Therefore, even if it's in the charter, there'll be a way around it. In my opinion, the strong mayor only works for the mayor, because the special interests then don't have to work with the council. The city manager only needs to work with the mayor. In the past, former councils have had town hall meetings to talk about what the priorities are for the neighborhoods by going into the neighborhoods to discuss what was needed. I don't see that happening under a strong mayor. Let me just go off topic for a second, since I have 5 minutes to do that. Back in the early 2000s, when Heather Fargo was mayor, we had $338 million to make improvements throughout the city. I'm not saying that it's the city's fault that they don't have that kind of money now, but that whole process, going to every neighborhood to talk about, or at least every council district to talk about what was needed, that's been a once in a lifetime thing. We've never seen anything before or after that. And when we got done setting those priorities together, the mayor and the council, we had projects, physical buildings, and other things for each council district. That's not going to happen when the board is made up of only council members. It's just not. Then on top of that, you have to add a 9th district. And for 2 years, there may or may not be some ties. Now, let me go back to address Daryl's questions about the trust and what he's trying to do to build more trust. I think you all know I did not support Measure U. Your organization did not support Measure U. My concern was that it was supposed to be a half-cent renewal, but then someone decided to add another half-cent. To me, that's a bait and switch, and I didn't appreciate it. I didn't think it was fair. I didn't think it was honest. That's just me. But it passed. So there was an opportunity to do something with the money that was promised. And it didn't happen. Granted, who foresaw a pandemic? No one. But it's a continuation of what I think some people in the Black community feel. It's just a lack of honesty that unfairly hurts us, whether it's intentional or not.
So what I'm going to do.
Oh, it's my 5 minutes up?
Yes.
Well, then I'm done.
Okay. At this point, because of the time constraints, I know there's some questions out there and I can't necessarily see the chat. So I'm gonna ask Stacy or Valerie or Lorraine, one of the two, to let me know what the questions are. But even before I go into that, we do go according to parliamentary procedure, and the actual discussion, I have to have a motion on the floor to go into discussion. So in order to do that, I am going to entertain a motion that the Sacramento branch vote up or down strong mayor, yes for strong mayor, no for strong mayor. And that's the motion on the floor. Can I get someone to entertain that motion?
So moved, Madam
Madam
President, for
President, I
Mills
move
Garrett.
to,
Okay, so I see Lamills have moved the motion and Ardell has seconded. And at this point, we go into discussion. So this is where our questions come in before we go into the vote. And so I'm asking at this point the secretaries to help me with the chat box. What questions do you see? Any secretary?
Okay, we had a question that said, what is strong mayor?
I would be happy to
Okay.
answer that.
Go ahead, Mayor Steinberg.
Well, thank you, Betty. Well, I know that words matter, and I understand the term strong mayor. Strength can either be a strength or it can be a weakness. I prefer to call it accountable mayor because here is the fact. The citywide elected mayor has the same vote as 8 council members who are elected by 1/8 of the city. And I think that leads to what I am experiencing as your mayor, which is even with my skill and ability and my history, that there are too many obstacles to moving a progressive agenda that allows the people's demands for more investment in their neighborhoods to be met. And I appreciate hearing from my old colleague, Lauren Hammond, who dedicated a lot of her life to public service. And I appreciate that. But I want to rebut what you said, especially when you use the word honesty. Let's be honest about what happened with Measure U. As the mayor of this city, I fought and continue to fight for the vast majority of that second half cent to be invested in our neighborhoods. The pushback has been from the firefighters, from Jeff Harris, from other council members, and frankly, from parts of the city family, the bureaucracy that frankly has a stake in making sure that the city organization does not have to suffer any cuts. And I fought, and in fact, I won. That's where the $40 million comes from. And then the pandemic hits. And the pandemic hits and wipes out our sales tax for the foreseeable future. And what do? In contrast to the county, I insist that our $89 million be spent on investments in the neighborhoods. Now, I may not be perfect, and I'm not. And please criticize me all day. But when you talk about honesty, and when you talk about working hard on behalf of the people and the neighborhoods, I think I have done pretty well with a long way to go. And I can tell you that I will do much better on your behalf with not unchecked power, because the city council is not weakened. In fact, it's strengthened. You talk about special interests. The city council will have exclusive authority over land use decisions separate from the mayor. The city council will have plenary authority absent the mayor to suggest any new charter changes. The city council will have plenary power absent the mayor to operate and administer the housing authority. The city council drafts the budget, and the mayor does not spend a dime of it unless the city council sends him or her a budget that the city council approves by majority vote. So let's be clear here when we talk about concentration of power, talk about strong mayor. Yes, it gives a mayor additional tools, but it is also balanced.
Thank you very much, Mayor,
Okay,
for
thank
answering
you.
that question.
Okay.
Ms. Hammond, would you like to take a minute or two to provide what your answer is to the question, which is what is strong mayor?
Sure, I'm glad I had my Wheaties this morning. So my colleague, Mayor Steinberg, is an excellent debater, and I appreciate what appears to be his umbrage because I used the word, I question the honesty in Measure U and the budget portion of Strong Mayor. In answering the question of what is a strong mayor, it's exactly what it sounds like. The mayor does present the budget. The city manager does answer only to the mayor. And since we have 3 major cities in California that already have a strong mayor, you know what you're looking at. What you see in San Francisco, what you see in Oakland, what you see in San Diego and Los Angeles. And again, I don't think they're any better off than we are. I will, however, say this. Darrell Steinberg is a budget genius. He knows that he taught me about transportation funding 20 some odd years ago. And he is very good about how to find money, how to raise money, and how to put money where he believes it should be. There is no question about that. Now, someone else asked, when would this be effective? It would be effective January 1st, 2021.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hammond. We have another question that's not been answered that's in the chat box. If the secretary is okay, since
Yeah.
I'm already, okay.
Valerie?
Yes, that's fine. The so we kind of answered when would the strong mayor be in effect after Steinberg's tenure?
No, it would be, I was reelected to a 2nd term in March. And so I begin my 2nd term, I don't know the exact date, about December the 1st, 2020. And so this would take effect for the majority of my 2nd term. But of course, it would also be in effect for whoever succeeds me, because we also added a 2-term limit. And so I would be barred from running for a 3rd term. Maybe that's reason enough to support this, by the way. Little humor, come on.
All right, I don't think that one
We have
needs.
2 more questions.
Yes, perfect.
And then, are there any African Americans in the mayor's office? Will the mayor have the capacity to appoint or remove the city clerk?
The city clerk will be under the provision of the city council. That's another power that the city council has, to hire and fire the city clerk, the city attorney, and the city treasurer. I had several lead African Americans in key positions in my office. One left recently to go into the private sector, and the other went into the city manager's office as the chief of innovation. So that's where I stand.
The next question is, how would the structure be with the police chief reporting under the strong mayor?
So this is where we try to find, again, a reasonable balance, because the city manager would still have authority under this proposal. The way that we wrote it is, Councilmember Hammond is correct, the city manager would report only to the mayor. Although if the mayor tried to fire the city manager, the city council could override that with 6 votes. And then the department heads would report to the city manager. So while the police chief would not report to the mayor directly, in a way he would indirectly, because the city manager would be accountable to the mayor.
Those are all the current questions.
Thank you all very, very much. Again, I would be grateful and honored to have your support and endorsement for this.
Thank you, Mayor, for taking the time again. Thank you, Lauren, for pitch hitting. I appreciate both of you for bringing the information that our membership definitely was looking for. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
At this time, there's a couple of rules when before we go into voting. Before Lorraine brings up the actual document that you vote up or down on, we have a number of people who are on the phone. And so those individuals who want to vote on the phone have to identify themselves. And
Oh, Betty, I actually, for that part, I'm gonna put the phone number in the chat box for them to text their vote, and I can record it on our spreadsheet. Other than that, I'm gonna be posting a link in the chat box because the poll option is not working at this time. I have to put this link in the chat box. If everyone can please go to the chat box, click the link, open the document, and put your vote in there. For any individuals that would like to vote by phone, that means you do not have access to this link, which most of you do. You can text this number. Please identify your first, last name, yes, no, or abstain.
so at this time, we're going to go into the vote. Lorraine is going to prepare putting it into the chat box. The vote only, members only. And so if your vote is spoiled, it's because the secretaries have the list in front of them, who's a member and who's not. And we'll let you know that, or not, we'll say you're not a member, and so that you can't vote. So at this time, we will go into the vote. So while everyone is voting, I have to say this has been a very full week for the NAACP. And I want to do a special thanks to my executive committee for the multiple meetings, the multiple readings, debates, peeling back the information, just asking a number of questions so that we can make sure that everything that we put out there is correct and factual, one. What you will learn from the NAACP that we will not necessarily be the first in front of a camera, but we will always be the one that will put out the information because we really get things very tough in our decision making.
I'm sorry, Betty.
And we make sure that our
it doesn't look like people are following directions. If you're putting your vote in the chat box, it will not be recorded. I will not record chat box voting. Please text the number that was submitted in the chat box or click the link in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lorraine. She keeps us in check. So, so if you've already voted in the chat box, already know that it doesn't count. Use the link that she provided. Otherwise, your vote will not count. So let's make sure that we abide by the rules because these are the rules that we're going to maintain for every general membership meeting. We'll have a general membership every second Saturday from 10 to 12. And I'm sure this subject or other subject matters will be coming up next month as well. So know that. So how is it voting? Are people following directions now, Lorraine? Let me ask that question. Are they starting to?
Yeah, we have 34 participants and 17 people have voted. So we have about halfway to go.
Okay. If you are a member, we need you to vote. If you are a member, we need you to vote. Some other news information I probably could talk about while you guys are voting. This is the year that it's elections as well. And only members can vote in the elections. If you are not a member, you can always go to our website, which is www.cp.com. However, if you choose to vote or become a member this moment, your vote does not count. You cannot join the day of the vote. In order for you can join the day of the vote, but your vote just won't count the day of the vote. But if you are looking to vote in future elections or subject matters, you need to be a member to do that. We will be using the same piece. If you would like to run for an office for the NAACP, you would have had to have been a member by May 1 of this year. Yes, I am running for president again for the NAACP, and most of my executive committee members will be running as well. But if you would like more information about that, we will be talking more in detail next month about that election process. And emails will be going out to members only regarding that process. So if you're not a member and you don't receive anything, that would be why. How are we doing, Lorraine, on the count? We go above 16?
One moment, let me refresh the spreadsheet.
Okay.
We have 23 votes in.
Okay. So I want you to hold it open for 60 more seconds. So after the 60 seconds are done, I'm closing the voting box. And then after that, I will open it up for questions while Lorraine is doing the final tally, and then I'll have the secretary announce the results of the tally. Was there
Madam President?
Did I hear someone?
Yes, Rory Kaufman.
Yes, Rory?
I'm having real technical problems here, and I certainly want my vote to be registered. So I don't know what to do. I appreciate the link, Lorraine. I'm just not that technical, so I get blown out. So what do I do in order so my vote will count? I apologize.
Do you have access to text?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Were you able to see the phone number in the text chat box?
I will see right now. Well, I picked a bad day not to know none of this. Excuse me.
Rory, why don't you just go ahead and email me, please?
That I can do. Yes, ma'am. I will do that right now. Thank you. Sorry, I ain't got to the 21st century yet.
You know, it's funny. This new age is forcing a lot of people to learn technology that they never had to use before.
Amen.
So I'm going to ask Valerie or Stacy to bring up the slide that gives our contact information. So those of you who are probably on the line and can't vote because you are not a member and you'll be interested in voting next time, you can contact our office.
So if you can't see it, you can call or text 916-856-0155, or you can visit our website at sacnaacp.com. Go to the memberships tab, and there's a two-part process to signing up for a membership. One, you will want to submit your payment. The $30 is for an annual adult visit. A $750 membership is a Silver Life membership. So you want to pay that online through PayPal there. There's also a link there to give us your contact information. I do encourage everybody to provide your complete contact information. So please include your phone number, your email, and an address so that we can contact you if we have any additional follow-ups. You do get a membership card, so we will need to mail those cards to you once they come into the office. And for those of you who are recruiting new members, I do encourage you to make sure that we get that complete information. It helps us keep our membership list up to date. And as we're going into the elections that Betty has been mentioning, it's real important that we make sure that everybody has an opportunity to vote. So we want at least one way to be able to contact you, whether that's email, through your phone, or your address. So, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Right now, the agenda item is the actual vote. That's what's on the floor right now. I see some hands up, but we need to complete the agenda item that we have on the floor. And with that, I'm going to ask Lorraine, since we have shut down the voting process at this point, are you ready, or do you need a little bit more time to give us the results?
Like 1 more minute.
Okay, so in that case, I am going to ask, I see there's 2 hands up. Who's blowing their nose? Paul Ashiri? I'm sure I'm not pronouncing your last name correctly, but I see your hand. Do you have a question while we're waiting on the final tally? If so, unmute your phone and ask your question. Paul? No? Okay. Then I see Laura has a question. Her hand is up while we're waiting on the final tally. Laura, unmute your phone and ask your question. I'm going to give it a few minutes. I'm just going to assume people are learning the technology. And Laura, you might be talking, but we don't hear you because your phone is muted. Or your whatever device you have your hand up is muted. Okay, so we can't figure out how to unmute.
Hello?
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
What's your question?
Yeah, it's not a question. Had the same problem that Rory had about the voting, and I've been trying to unmute this thing, and then I raised my hand. So I didn't get a chance to vote.
Okay, well, you have Lorraine's email.
I did send an email, though. I don't know if you got a chance to see it.
She's looking at her email as well. She's looking at her email, so I hope you didn't send it to me.
No, I sent it to
Lorraine.
And
Lorraine,
thank you. I got it,
clearly
Laura.
said on the, I heard Rory said, oh boy. And so I say that because she clearly asked Rory to send his vote to her.
Yeah,
I did. Please have her email address.
Rory.
I know this is bad. I think my boss said.
I'll look. You sent it to me, Rory?
I sent it to you, Madam President, yes. I was looking for Lorraine's email address and I haven't found it yet, so that's what I did.
Okay, I will. And Laura, I know you have Lorraine's email address, so as long as you send it to Lorraine, you should be good.
I got Laura's vote. I'm just waiting for Rory's. I have everybody else's.
Lauren, please forgive me. I'll make this real quick. If you can give me your email address, I'll type it right now. I apologize. I just don't know what I don't know.
Because I don't see Rory's email. Unless he sent it somewhere else.
No, ma'am. If you can hear me, I was just saying please forgive me. If Lorraine can give me her email, because I tried to go into L. It's not there. She obviously has and I have never had the
Roy,
pleasure.
just
Yes,
send
sir.
it to just send it to Betty, NAACP@gmail.com.
Thank you. Done.
Tijuana had a question.
Yes, Miss Betty. Are we going to talk about membership? Because I think I have a membership question that may be of interest to other people. Could I ask that right now, or should we just wait?
No, go ahead and ask it now.
Okay, so for a person who wants to do the payment plan for life membership, could you explain how that works? Yeah, that's what I really want to know about the payment plan.
Yeah, so lifetime membership is Silver Life is $750. And with NAACP, there's 3 ways you can obtain the $750. One way is to pay the full amount, $750, or you can make payments monthly of $75 per month for 10 months, or they even allow you to pay yearly $75 a year. And so once you obtain $750, that membership basically is for life. You stay on the rolls even after death. The NAACP allows you to stay on the roll. I know, different, right? So I got it, Roy, so I'm sending it to Lorraine now.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to make sure that if someone pays $75 close to when their $30 membership expires, would that $75 cover the basic membership until they finish paying the $750?
No, they're 2 separate. Matter of fact, if they pay $30 one week and $75 the next week, their effective dates will be different. So if they pay $30 on January 1, and they would be a member for 1 year until January 1 of the following year. If they paid $75 January 15th, they would be double covered, but their coverage for the $75 would maintain their effectiveness until January 15th of the following year. However, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't know this. If you are late on your $75 payment for the following year, say you said, oh, I forgot, I want to, and you end up realizing that you're going to pay it on January 31st or February 1, you make your $75 payment. Well, it can prohibit you from running for an office because you had a gap between your $75 payment. That rule is only in effect for individuals who are paying for lifetime. That rule doesn't apply for a $30 membership, only lifetime. So you just have to be consistent on your lifetime membership, because if you allow a gap, it can stop you from running to be on the executive committee for the NAACP. But that was a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorraine, are we ready?
Yes. We had 24 respondents. We had 5 at yes, 15 at no, and 4 abstentions.
So based on that, the Sacramento branch opposes a strong mayor based on the presentation and the language as presented. And so that's the vote of the membership. And we have completed the discussion, and that's what we will have on the roll. So, so that ends that part of the agenda. We have a question from Norma Nelson, Norma, and then Lauren Hammond.
Oh.
Go ahead, Norma.
Oh, hi. Actually, I just put my question in the chat box. It had to do with the discussion about membership.
Okay.
I'm a lifetime member of another chapter, and I wanted to know if I had to become a member or just a member of this particular chapter. So I saw in the chat box where the membership of a separate, the SAC NAACP membership is separate from the NAACP membership.
Okay, so you're a member with another branch? Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, and are you a lifetime membership or a $30 membership?
I'm a lifetime member of another branch, Detroit.
Okay, so all you would have to do when you're already an existing lifetime membership is transfer your membership. You don't have to make another payment. If you paid in full already, well, either way, actually, you can transfer your membership. You would just, there's two ways to do it. You contact our secretaries who are on the phone right now, or contact National and let them know that you would like to transfer your membership from Detroit to the Sacramento branch.
Okay.
And as long as you paid in full, there's no payment need to be made. They just transfer it over.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Lauren.
I just wanted to impart upon the members that you realize how difficult fundraising was after your opposition to Measure U. You can't expect that again. As I have, I'm sure will take a professional hit for this in my consulting business. It hasn't happened yet, but it will. So we're going to have to figure out how we continue to raise money in a pandemic. And we should frankly look at the people who always seem to get funding, because they always seem to be on the right side of the issues that are most difficult to discern.
Very good point. That's why it's important if you want to donate. We have a donation button at on our NAACP website, the sacnacp.com.
Sorry.
Laura, you want to go ahead and mute if you can?
Yes.
Okay. Because for a number of reasons, we want to make sure that we are educating our community more than not. There's a number of elections that are coming up, and we want to make sure that we support the individuals that have like minds and support community like ours. There's a number of measures and propositions that we carefully want to look at and support those. But at the end of the day, like Lauren knows and I know, that raising money when you don't have a pandemic in our community can be challenging, but we really, really, really need to know or come together for this. That's one. Two, if you understand the voting patterns for the city of Sacramento, our city is really designed by the elite, because if you look at individuals that are voting in the pocket area or the District 1, certain areas of District 1, where they vote at a rate of 66 to 70%, very high rate. But if you go to Meadowview or Del Paso Heights, it's closer to 33%. Very low rate. So who makes up the decisions, overall decisions for our city? And right now we have, in the city of Sacramento has a majority minority. And just think, if we come together, we could make the decisions that shape our city. And so, well, NAACP will be working hard at is making sure that people are registered to vote. They understand the issues of what's on the ballot. One of the other things that we're looking at and working closely with are judges. Judges are making some key decisions when it comes to our livelihood, when individuals that look like us go before them. And many times they run unopposed. So we're looking at supporting judges with like minds and look like us. And sometimes they don't look like us, but they have like minds. So we have to make sure that we are looking at that and we are vetting those. And one of the things that I've asked LaMills to work on is a report card for judges, because a lot of times when we get those ballots, we are really good when it comes to voting for the president or the mayor or the city council. And then we have that list of judges and everybody is like, okay, we don't, who's this? And so what we're going to do, plan on doing is at the very least, create a report card so we'll know if these existing judges have been on the right side of our criminal justice. And so that our individuals will know better on how to vote. We are a 501c4, so we cannot tell a person how to vote for individuals. But what we can do is create a report card so you will have a more informed way of voting. Hopefully that makes sense. So we just have to do a better job in educating our community and making sure that they vote with an educated lens. At this time, I'm trying to, since I don't see the agenda and someone can have some eyes for me, I think we go into new business. I can't even remember if we had new business. Do we?
Yeah, we have new business, and underneath new business is census, then announcements, then adjournment.
Okay. And I think I talked about census, and I'll just repeat that real quick. Census ends September 30th, not October 31st, like a lot of the literature. The President of the United States made the decision to cut the self-response 30 days earlier. And so we just want to make sure that we educate our community about that and make sure that we are counted. We get those dollars into our communities that's most needed. If you look at the very communities I just talked about that hardly comes out to vote, those are the communities that aren't getting the dollars because we're not responding. In the last census, it was African-American males from 18 to 35 years old who didn't respond. And then we had the children from 0 to 5 that wasn't counted. They may have been in the house, but wasn't counted because of fear. If you're living in subsidized housing, you can't, if you really only supposed to have 2 kids and you have 4, then you're only counting 2 thinking someone would report you. But it's 100% confidential, and we really want to get that out there that we want everyone to be counted. And then it makes the decision on our community as far as aligning our district. So redistricting. So please, let's share all of that. At this time, any announcements, or I see hands up, but I don't know if those hands have been up from the beginning, but any questions at this point?
Yes, Betty?
Yes.
I have a couple questions. One is related to the census. I've been trying to study that, and it might just be my brain, I'm not getting that. I'm trying to understand, and I'm wondering if someone can give us information when we go and sit before people and hand out masks or census information on exactly how that money trickles down to our community. It seems like the decisions are made at the council level or somewhere at state level, and that may or may not mean that money will trickle down to our community. And I can't find a clear, like very simple for me to understand so I can explain to someone else. But I know a lot of you guys do have this information and you understand it. And I'm wondering if something be put up either on our website or to me, provided to me, so when I speak to people, I can speak with more knowledge.
Madam President?
Yes, Roy.
Out of respect to that question, which is an outstanding question, if the great Laura Hammond still on the phone, we were trying to get a specific outline of the categories of how it's done. Laura's right, and so we're working on it right now to get that breakdown so we can turn it into an email and flyers to tell to our people, because everybody's asking the same question: why should we participate in? We don't know where the money is going to. The same thing on the TV commercials say one thing, but it doesn't really break it down. So we're trying our best now as we speak. I'll work with LaMills to get that information, ma'am, so we can put it in print out, ma'am.
I can also get that information to you.
Madam President.
And And I will work with you in getting that information. But more specifically, so for example, we're in the middle of a COVID, right? And so one of the things that NAACP worked with others and other leaders on was trying to make sure that we had testing in our communities. And so a lot of the federal funding, so it started at the federal level, meaning the president's level. And then it goes from federal to state and state to county and county to city. And so, but if we want more clinics in our area to deal with healthcare issues that we are definitely dealing with when it comes to COVID, because we are dying faster than anyone else if we receive it, right? But if we don't have, so one of my arguments were in the very beginning, they were sending us to Cal Expo for testing, but we had COVID and they had took away the transportation. That's federal funding, right? We want to make sure that we have the transportation needed to go to the test, to go to the clinic. All of those are connected. And if we're not counted, we don't get the opportunity to get counted again for another 10 years. So if I created the analogy this way, if a family of 5 was awarded $2,000 for every time they were counted, family of 5, 2,000, so you have $10,000. $10,000 times 10 years is what, $100,000 that we would not receive if that family did not count themselves. $100,000 we wouldn't receive for 10 years for one family that can go into our community. So we need to, if we were to put an analogy together, that would be the analogy that I would put together. And I know when I was on a national call the other day, they were talking about some new information coming out regarding the new deadlines for census. And so once that comes out, I know we have another meeting on Monday. I will try to get that out to everyone that's on this call. That's a good question, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Regina?
Yeah, I
You want
was
to go
just
ahead and
gonna,
unmute
I think,
yourself?
no, I think you did, I think you added to that nicely, because I think that for her to understand what the census does is just this, it's a count, and then we start looking where people are, but if you don't vote, so it takes this count into, where are all the people, and then you have a redistricting committee that then does this other layer with that data. And then with that data, obviously, you end up being able to do the stuff that Betty is talking about. Your elected leaders then kind of start saying where dollars are going to go and how you get represented. And so there's multi-layers. I think it's very easy to say, hey, get counted. But because there's multi-layers, all of these things have direct or / indirect, not easy to kind of track to say, hey, money comes specifically from this. But I think that Betty did a good job at at explaining, at looking at that. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you, Regina. So that was the unfinished or the new business. At this time, I'm going to open it up for announcements. Anything happening out there that we should know about besides, I'm just going to remind everyone, September 6th is a Sunday. It's Labor Day weekend. We are developing the flyer now, but that's going to be a fundraiser for us. And so we're going to do an event at the drive-in. And so look forward to that and more information coming soon regarding our drive-in event on September 6th, Labor Day weekend. Any other announcements? I feel like I'm at church. Any other announcements?
Betty, I have an announcement.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Velma.
Hey, Velma.
Our WIN committee will be meeting on August the 15th. I would invite anyone. WIN is Women in NAACP. And for those that don't know, our mission is around women, children, and families. And we advocate on behalf of women, children, and families. We're going to have a meeting on August the 15th to start planning an event in collaboration with some other 100 Black women and other Black women organizations. But the focus of the event that we will be planning for October will be around the power of the Black vote. So if anyone would like to join us, I would invite you to join us on our meeting August the 15th. You can find details on our Facebook page, Sacramento Women in NAACP Facebook page.
Thank you, Velma. Any other announcements?
The Education Committee is going to have a workshop on August 22nd, and there'll be more information to follow. So just keep your eyes open. Thank you.
Thank you, Education Committee Chair. Any other announcements?
We're going to be having a credit boot camp on the 19th. It's going to be virtual, of course, and I'll be sending out the link to all of the membership.
Perfect, perfect.
One other, I've got one.
Go ahead.
This is Lauren, the National Women's Political Caucus of Sacramento. I'm the president of, and two other women's organizations, Capital Women's Coalition run by Heather Fargo, and there's a third women's organization. Sorry, I can't remember. Anyway, League of Women Voters. We are having 19th Amendment Centennial Celebration. 100 years since women have had the right to vote, and all women were involved in that 100 years ago. And it will be online, and I will have that on the NWPCSAC.org website in another day or two. They have to finish the flyer. But our special guest is Dolores Huerta.
Ooh.
Wow.
It will be in the afternoon. Look, that's all I got right now.
You've done good, Lauren. You're doing good.
Thank you.
Betty, this is Valerie.
Go ahead.
That our health committee is doing a health forum called Health Recovery, Resilience, and Rebuilding for Communities of Color. It will be Wednesday, September 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. and you will be getting the flyer and information on that soon.
Thank you, Health Committee. Thank you. Any other announcements? If no other announcements, I'm going to thank everyone for participating in our general membership meeting that we hold every second Saturday. If you are a member, you'll get an invite. If you're not a member, you won't get an invite, but I'm sure your friends will tell you about it. But join the NAACP so that a couple of things. If you want to understand the propositions and the measures and how it affects our community, this is the place to be. You want to know whether a yes is a true yes and a no is a true no when you get ready and vote. And then there's a lot of issues that we vet and have the opportunity for individuals to listen on the pros and the cons. And that's what we do. That's our intent always, to get the facts and then allow our membership to vote. So with that, I'm going to bless everybody back to their Saturday and get back to their weekend. So Madam Secretary, I am adjourning this meeting at 11:42. Everyone have a great weekend and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.